The instructions on air and in the comment section. Cannabis Life Radio is teaming up with Green Roads World to give you free CBD. Good luck from Cannabis Life Radio and Green Roads World. Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oil, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio.
Yeah. Are we live now? Are we on? Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio, Florida's only cannabis radio program. I'm Leon Hamilton along with Arby Barroso and Cheryl Murray Powell, a cast of thousands. TFC Marketing is here, and it's our Christmas program. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Arby.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Santa. All that good stuff.
Everything you believe in.
Hey, I want to
make sure you have time with your family.
I want to say something first. We got to change the. We are Florida's only cannabis radio program. We got to change that now because
what do you got?
Somebody else is competing with us, and they're actually on.
They're not competing. Don't ever say
Yeah, they're
that.
competing. Well, now we are. We should be something else. We should be Florida's original.
There you go.
Cannabis radio.
I can take that.
I think that's actually an improvement.
I can live with that.
Who are you talking about?
I don't even know.
So what do we got going on
I
today?
just got to give out a shout out. Yesterday, you know, I lost a little bit of my man card. A bunch of my guys just sent me a bunch of things on Facebook because I had to take my daughter's bike to get put together. So I just want to shout out to our guys out in Weston, Addicto. They're right off of 595 and Western Road. Felipe will take care of you. Cycling Tech Center.
Oh, yeah?
Look him up. Tell him that Arby sent you. He really took care of it. You know, actually picked up the bike, dropped off the bike. As you can see, I'm all busted up and stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely not good with hammers, screws, and all the wrenches.
I stopped riding that bike. Do you know why I stopped riding?
Why'd you stop?
I got run over by a car.
Well, I mean, Sims
Oh, my
sounds
goodness,
like you, though.
Terrible. Well, we're glad you're still with us.
Yes.
And Leon, we changed positions, so
Yeah.
why'd you end up sitting over on that
I wanted to
side?
move over here because
He
I
wants
noticed.
to be to my right.
Yeah. Well, I noticed in last week's.
That he doesn't realize that that's my that's
your fighting arm.
Now I'm in punching range.
Yeah,
No, but I
exactly.
noticed when I was over there last week on the video feed, I kind of looked like Katharine Hepburn, so I wanted to.
I think you just wanted to get to your better side, right?
Yes,
Is that it?
that's what it is. That's a much better
Oh,
way of
so
saying
that's how I got booted.
it. Yes. All right, so what's going on?
I mean, everything.
Yeah?
Everything's going on. We had our there was
We
a
had a
Christmas party.
fat Christmas party.
Tell us some more.
It was a Christmas party and
wow.
I wasn't invited?
Yes, you were.
Oh.
Stop with this whole non-invitation stuff you got going on here. Goodness gracious.
We were very
so
inclusive of Leon.
So sensy. I'm gonna buy a ballerina thing for him.
A ballerina thing. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I could honestly tell you, mojitos
Yes.
by Sawgrass. Mojito Bar did an amazing job. We had DJ Ari joined us out there.
Oh, yeah?
We had the whole Green Roads World, Wellness, Athletics, Treyas Jarrell, Hassan, John Swade, Jimmy
Doobie.
Tundador, Laura, my commander-in-chief, Danny Perdek. I mean, literally, we controlled the whole place.
Yeah?
I don't even want to talk about what the bill was for alcohol.
Oh, my goodness.
Before I'm trying to sneak out, and the guy's like, "Hey, RB," I'm like, I look at the
care of
bill,
this.
I'm like,
But it was a good time. Good
It
time
was
was had by
absolutely
all.
worth
Everybody
every
dressed
penny.
up. Everyone looked fantastic. There was a lot to celebrate. We're all looking forward to celebrating again next year. Or throughout the year as we hit different milestones. So that was really a highlight.
Every day
for
is
my
Christmas at Green Roads.
That was the highlight.
it
for
was
me.
absolutely, it was great. It was really amazing. It was bringing everybody together. We've had families there that we've sponsored and continue to sponsor, came out and showed support. It was just, the energy was so awesome.
That's
it
fantastic.
really was. It was a lot of fun. And we had the dancing going on.
Did Santa
Oh,
show
I was
up?
killing the dance floor.
What about Santa?
Y'all aren't ready for me.
No Santa?
Santa didn't have time. He's just,
Right.
Santa was elsewhere. It was a Wednesday, so he's a little bit busy with the kiddies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He left the
but-
adults to us, but we had a fantastic time. So
I
shout out to
really
Green
had
Rose and
probably,
Green Rose
it was
fam.
great. It
What's
was
that?
great. It was great.
No, it's a fantastic night. So we just wanted to share that with you guys. Happy holidays. A lot going on in the cannabis space. This is actually, I say a lot is going on because everybody's looking forward to next year and some activities coming up. There's some conferences coming up. The Florida Cannabis Coalition is going to have a Canna Day in Miami again at FIU. So we're going to be speaking at that conference. So anyone who's going to be in Miami February 2nd, 3rd time, please attend that. In addition, there's a physicians conference, a medical association conference. I think it's the American Medical Marijuana Physicians Conference, and that's going to be a great one. Same weekend in Miami, so that Super Bowl weekend, you have 2 conferences to choose from. A lot of Canna people to hang out with. So I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, I think it's across the board. I mean, from hemp-derived CBD to cannabis. I just showed you right now on Facebook
Yes.
how medical companies are literally pulling out of Florida because they can't figure it out yet.
Yeah, that's the hard part. So, everybody sees the green rush and they want to get involved with the cannabis industry, but we're really dependent on that patient count, and we're really dependent on what the states decide the fees will be and the costs will be. So it's extremely expensive to get into the industry, especially if you're touching plant and especially if you're seeing patients. So. The company that you mentioned was Tetra announced that they're closing clinic locations, and the reason given is because of the state dragging their feet. So, again,
What do you think is
there's
going to go on with that?
No, I think it's.
Are they one of the companies that never planted a seed?
They're a clinic. They're a clinic.
Oh, they're only a clinic?
They're only
Yeah.
a clinic, so they're not a license holder.
Oh, okay.
But the state dragging its feet, or Christian backs dragging its feet, or the inactivity. I mean, I'm not going to say it's atypical from what happens across the state. It's just frustrating because
Right.
at the other end of it, there are patients. And this weekend, or earlier this week, I was just thinking about it because as I do the speaking engagements, I try to make it a little different every time. And there's one thing I was thinking about is the fact that the advocates and the activists are the ones that have been really getting medicine to patients over time. When you look at the history of, I don't want to call it an industry, but the fight for legalization, there are a lot of patients that are still here or had a better experience, or they're dealing with their pain because activists just said, I don't care what the laws say, I'm going to get medicine to patients. Now, this isn't an endorsement of that behavior. It's more of a reflection of, there are a lot of good people who said, you know what, I have to get medicine to these patients.
Right.
We've spoken about, epileptic patients who passed away unnecessarily. But there's some people who are just fighting and trying to make sure that that there isn't another person who dies if cannabis is that solution.
Right.
Yeah, but how are we gonna stop this? Like, honestly, we need to pass some type of legislation that allows this industry to continue to push forward.
Well, we're in
And
session.
right now, with everybody just not knowing what to do, and legislators just kind of sitting on their hands, what are we going to do? I mean, we have Midwest America, which GW Pharmaceutical is really pushing hard. They're picking these states that really don't have the money or have chosen not to fight a pharmaceutical company. So now we're going to allow a European pharmaceutical company to come in here and dictate what us Americans should be taking. And that's fine and dandy. If they've created something that is good, and that could help treat autism or help treat seizures, epileptic seizures, or any of that stuff, I applaud them. But for them to come in here and try to say that you cannot use CBD or you cannot formulate or use it as a supplement or a food additive is absolutely astonishing and sad that we're going to allow this to happen.
Yeah.
And they're trying to set precedent, honestly, really. Yeah. What they're trying to do is set precedent in these small states and, bring it from there and then start growing it out, which I don't think they'll be able to touch like Florida's and the New York's. But, I mean, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think one, we don't really have evidence that it's a particular actor.
I don't know about that.
We reference GW Pharmaceuticals only because their recent filing with the FDA for approval on their drug Epidiolex, and also articles that have been written about their lobbying activity in the center of the country. However, there hasn't been an established causal connection. So we just want to make that clear.
I'm tending to disagree with you on that. Yeah. But
legally,
we'll see. I mean, legally, you're on my attorney, so we'll leave it at that.
Listen to your lawyer,
my hands
Listen
are up.
to your lawyer.
She's right, I'm wrong.
That's right.
I want to make sure that we're clear on that we're not
Thank you, Sheriff,
creating a causal
me on that
connection
one.
there. But it is infuriating to think that markets are being identified based on the fact that they don't have the activism that we see on the coastal states, and they don't have the amount of educational push that you'll see where the coastal states are. I mean, recently, because we've seen like a few seizures here and there of product, it's kind of taking us back a few years. And then, of course, once information is shared and lawyers are involved, then they back down. But it's just costly to constantly have to fight for something that was already made legal because of people with authority or people decision makers don't have the information. They haven't taken the time to Google or look for the Farm Bill or look. That's the frustrating part, because saying nothing or doing nothing can roll us back 5 years, 10 years. So then we're in a posture as an industry where we have to find the funds or align the companies to fight back so that patients have access to medicine.
I agree with that. We had a good discussion with Roundtree. I think he was actually He's coming. Yeah. And we were talking about how the FDA had, and I'll have you enlighten the audience here on this, that THC and CBD cannot be used in a food additive. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that what they're trying to
do? We're not talking about food additive, but dietary supplement is the language used on the FDA site as far as whether CBD is considered a dietary supplement. So it's challenging because there was an exception because hadn't been a published filing of a request for approval and an application for a CBD medication. I guess we can still say last month that we're still in December. So November, with the filing for Epidiolex, the FDA has updated their website saying that exemption basically no longer exists, and that they don't see any evidence that that CBD is a dietary supplement, but they're open to it. So if anyone has that evidence, they would like to see it. So that's on the Q&A, the FAQs on the FDA's website.
Isn't one of the? I'm sorry, RB, but isn't one of the main things that the FDA has, one of their own rules that they set in motion, that it is if a food that they discover becomes a drug that needs to be trademarked or whatever you call it, legally patented, if there's a food version of it, they cannot make the food version of it illegal. That was an FDA law that's been in effect for like 50 years.
Are you talking about the grandfathering? because if you were already using it in food prior to the published filing of a new application.
Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. But again, there's an exception where that's concerned. So,
what is the exception? What are they using as an exception?
I can pull it up and look at it.
Well, I was just wondering because I know that there's that rule has been in effect forever.
It is.
And then they went against their own rule for no reason, just because this stuff works. That's my theory.
Yeah. So I'll go back to that. Area.
Okay.
We'll let her do a little research.
She's researching live on the air.
She's researching. So let me ask you a question. Let's bring you into this picture. How was your, the film crew following you around?
There was a film crew following me around. Yes.
How did that feel?
It felt okay. I'm not really.
You looked a little nervous.
I'm very nervous in front of cameras. Yeah.
You're in front of a bunch of cameras.
I'm ignoring it. Yeah, I'm pretending they're not there.
Can you actually see through those glasses?
No. Actually, I can't.
I figured it out.
Those are fake eyeballs. There's like those crazy eyes you get at the fair.
So how was it? You got to explain this. I mean,
okay,
you can't get slide through it.
We had a film crew come in to Florida Home Grow and follow me around.
Nice.
All right.
And we went through an average day. What happens to me at Florida Home Grow?
Okay.
A day in the life of Leon.
Day in the life of Leon.
I saw some mannequin action.
Yeah, there was some mannequin action, but I don't want to talk about her.
I don't want to explain that.
That's my secret friend.
To listeners on the radio, I don't think they might get that. But actually, if you go to Green Roads or is it Cannabis Life Radio,
on Facebook.
And it's also
go to at Sea Life Radio, and I think you'll be able to see the video there. And it's actually on our Instagram at Sea Life Radio.
Well, stop putting up pictures and videos of me, please.
No, you want to
attract people to listen to the show. You don't want to frighten them.
No,
okay?
I think you're a good-looking guy, man. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Thanks,
I think you should be followed around.
So what are you doing later?
Don't go there. Don't go there with me.
Going back to the FDA piece, I went back to the language, and basically there's an exception if a dietary supplement or if it was marketed as a dietary supplement or conventional food before the drug was approved or before the new drug investigations were authorized as applicable. However, based on available evidence, FDA has concluded that this is not the case for THC or CBD. So that's really where there was an exception for that, but they've already concluded that that's not the case.
Right, but that exception is for all foods. That was their own rule ahead of time. And then when CBD and THC came into the picture, they decided, no, we can't.
It would look that way.
Yep.
So it's challenge. It's really hard to, want to take on the FDA.
Not right now.
They're not someone you want to play with or fight with. So, people just fold. People traditionally just, fold and modify.
Fold
things.
or hold?
I say fold, and even some nutritional supplement anecdotals from years ago. They're speaking to companies, and they're like, "Yeah, once we got our letter, we just folded," that kind of thing. So,
do you really think that people with the amount of information that's out there today, and this is obviously to our listeners, and do you really think people would fold and just walk away from this?
That's a great transition to the 60-minute article that you mentioned, and you gave me the heads up that was available on McKesson. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I did watch it. I went back and watched it. Basically, Arby sent out to some friends, hey, there's a 60-minute special on right now. It's talking about McKesson. It was called Too Big to Prosecute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Too big to prosecute.
So it's about how McKesson has all these violations that's been noted by the DEA. It had to do with quantities of opiates in rural areas, rivaling quantities of opiates shipped to larger cities. There were some small cities where they said enough opiates were pumped into those cities so that every man, woman, and child would have a 30-day supply.
Right.
It was, I guess, a former DEA person was bringing it to light and talking about, how he was challenged in wanting to prosecute them because it was too much money, too much time, and he was discouraged from doing so. So it was very enlightening. If you have on demand, because that's how I watched it a couple nights ago, go under 60 minutes from December 17th, and it's actually the first segment. So there's,
right.
Of course, they have multiple segments. It was the first segment. It's very interesting, gives you a lot of insight into what's currently going on with the opiate epidemic and some of the, I'm not going to, I think it would be a stretch to call McKesson a bad actor, but some of the people who have been identified as violators and have been sanctioned as a result of it. So the highlight was the McKesson company was mentioned, and this was on last week's.
So let me ask you. So what do you want to tell the people how this little slap in the wrist that they received?
Yeah, go ahead.
$150 million.
Right.
But
So
they're a $200 billion company a year.
They make $150 million in a week.
And they have 76,000 employees.
Yeah.
And that was their first one. I didn't even pay attention. I got a little aggravated, so I kind of changed my channel.
Yeah,
but how much was the second penalty? Which was literally, the first one was because, the position they were in, and they were just providing pills to everybody without really not, doing their research or finding out who's ordering or what's the size of the town. There was a town of 10,000.
Market.
Right.
Yeah, and so that was the second part. Mm-hmm. So they were actually providing small pharmacies, well, maybe a town that had more than 10, 15,000 people in there, and they were receiving hundreds of thousands of class 2, class 3, and class 4 narcotics.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. I'm really glad that you alerted me that article, that show was on there. They went deep. They really they didn't mind naming names, and it was very enlightening, to say the least. That's what we're facing, as far as the opiate piece. There's more attention on it now, thank God. The cannabis industry, of course, we have identified ourselves as the the potential, or the plant itself as the potential solution. Again, it's not for every person to use medical marijuana. That's not the messaging that we're sharing. No. We're saying that it is a viable solution. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be presented right along with other options to patients, so they are fully educated, and they can make the choices that are appropriate along with their physician for their lifestyle. In addition, there's the CBD option, which doesn't include the high, which is, which opens it up to children, elderly people with fall risks and things like that. So, what we're fighting for is not, we don't want to do the same thing and say, well, this is the only option. We don't want to mirror the approach of Big Pharma. What we want to say is it is an alternative option. It needs to be investigated. I would even go so far as to say that it's malpractice not to investigate it. And there's more and more research that's available. Domestically, we're starting to see more research. Internationally, there's a tremendous amount of research that's available. We always cite Israel and their advancements that have happened. So it's really for, it's challenging physicians because they are the gatekeepers of the legal cannabis market, to educate themselves, peer education, go to these seminars, read online. It's available. Talk to your patients, because a lot of your patients are already using cannabis.
Some of the patients know more than what the actual doctors know.
Because they're using it, and they say, I don't know what the research says, but I know these are the days when I didn't use cannabis, and how I felt, and then these are the days when I did use cannabis. Or this person that I cared about and loved, this is what they were like when they did use cannabis, and this is what they were like when they didn't use cannabis. And then when you do a inventory of the side effects, that's one of the challenges, is when we're comparing opiates to cannabis, we're never comparing side effects to side effects.
No.
No, and
that's really the next step is getting people to start doing that side effect analysis and looking at it on a matrix as far as the side effects associated with opiates, depending, and for each one that are recommended for particular illnesses, these are the side effects. And then when you look at cannabis, the side effects are drowsiness, possibly. Paranoia, possibly. We have to be honest about that too. It's not the cure-all. It's not for every person. We have to be, if we legit want to make it a viable, reasonable option laid out with all the other ones, let's start cataloging and having the research around the side effects, which we know anecdotally. One thing we know is death, fatality is not one of the side effects.
Squamiting is.
Yes, absolutely. Well, squamity with your throwing up and whatever you call
and
that.
Screaming.
And screaming at the same time.
Screaming
and also hemp derived. I mean, there's a plethora of different types of plants that are in the family. Green Roads does it through a hemp derived CBD. Right. Not through a cannabis plant. So those are other things that we continue to research and look into because of the different strains. Everybody's grown different types of cannabis strains. We're more looking towards the hemp extraction and finding out what types of CBD we could get out of hemp or feminized hemp. Seeds. So, I mean, there's so many different options. And yes, you're right. This is not a cure-all. This is not a miracle drug. This is something that is now being investigated more. People are putting their time, effort, and money behind it. We have a gentleman that's going to be joining us soon that's put a lot of time and effort into this. And Big Pharma has its place. 1,000%. I mean, there's a lot of things that they create that, whether it's cures, whether it's certain things, it's not, let's bury pharma. But the fact is that they're trying to bury hemp and cannabis all over again. That's my problem. Yeah. Let it be an open market. Let them. The people that succeed are the most talented and the ones that really drive hard for the right vision and for the right results, instead of cornering the market and not allowing others to be part of it, that would be the sad part.
And I'm not a constitutional law expert or a constitutional law attorney, but it really comes down to really looking at the balance of powers now. So when you have these, executive branch attorney generals acting and making these declarations, there's going to be some scrutiny of what are they allowed to do, especially with regard to this issues. Can they declare something illegal that the federal government has declared legal or specified, stalks and stems? Can they just say, despite what the federal government has determined, it's illegal for this particular state? So there is going to be more scrutiny, more dialogue around the balance of power. How are these executive agencies overreaching, including, again, attorney generals for states at a federal level, the DEA. There's already been that discussion after the December letter from the DEA about CBD, which they had to revise and indicate, we're just creating categories. We weren't really saying anything about the legality of it. So we're going to look at, and also the FDA in that. So, the executive branch, what is their role? How much interpretation are they allowed? Traditionally, the judicial branch is where the interpretation is designed to occur. Executive branch is for enforcement of legislation. And then, of course, the legislative branch is where the rules are made for the most part, unless they give that authority to the executive branch. So I think we're going to have more constitutional law discussions at a federal level as well as at a state level as these executive agencies continue to push the envelope as far as their authority and what they're able to do.
I think Leon's asking for a break.
Yeah, we got to take a break. If that's okay.
I think he's just.
I guess, okay.
There's
Getting a
all
little
that
fidgety.
movement and all that fidgetiness.
I'm getting a little fidgety.
He's driving me crazy.
Well, we also have a guest coming up. We have to reset.
Well, we are in
today?
for
Yes.
an interesting
Yes.
2000.
Right, I just want to double check.
Sorry,
On that.
we are in for an interesting 2018 when you look at that balance of powers piece. So
I'm ready to go. Let's go. What do we need to do?
And by the way, if you have a question about cannabis or CBD, you can post it in the comments section on Facebook Live, and we'll include it as part of Arby's mail sack. One of
Absolutely,
the most popular.
not even that. Actually, on the drone thing that I got going on, it's like my new toy.
You got a drone?
There's 3 questions there, so if
You got questions for the mail sack on
through
your
my drone? Yeah, it's a drone. I'm droning.
You're droning.
I'm droning.
That's for sure.
I'm droning.
All right,
So
we're
I'm
gonna take
dropping drone mics.
We're gonna take a break. You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
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 yeah, I,
You now?
Nope.
He doesn't hear my other voice.
You guys put your stuff up. I put up mine.
There you go. Put that on the table. Put that on the table.
Now, whose is this?
That's just to cover the box.
Ah, sorry. I will change your buttons. Or is that too slow?
no, you're fine. Just join.
You don't want me to have a stand thing on?
It's not mine, so I don't want to.
As a loving pet owner, you want to treat your senior dog for dysplasia, neuropathy, and joint discomfort with minimal traditional chemical medication. And as loving pet owners, we at King Canine agree, and we're excited to make our signature CBD line available to you. Derived from all-natural cannabidiol compounds, lab-tested, non-GMO, plant-based, cutting-edge King Calm CBD reduces inflammation and discomfort naturally, and even reduces anxiety from fireworks and thunderstorms. Go to KingCanine.com, that's KingKanine for details, and browse a full line of products like King Calm De-Shedder, King Calm Balm, and King Clean Shampoo for pet wellness inside and out. Order now using the code BARK20 for an exclusive 20% discount. KingKanine.com, King Calm CBD, and the rest of our natural cannabidiol products.
We're back.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's you. That's you with your drone.
You have your headset.
That's you with your drone.
Apparently
over the
we're
neighbor's
on.
backyard.
It's so
We're
much
on.
fun, man.
I know.
I love it. It's
I got
like,
one for the grandkids.
I can do like 5
see
minutes,
anything?
and it's like,
Oh, hot mic. Hot mic. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio. We're on.
Hot
We're live.
mic.
We are here. Welcome to
Hello,
Cannabis Life
everyone.
Radio.
caliente
Yes.
microfono.
Florida's original cannabis radio program. That's us.
Well,
That is us.
We have joining us in studio Charles Ackner from Saints Brand Cannabis.
Very good.
A very interesting, fascinating man. I've gotten to know you over the past year or so. And you're local, you're in South Florida.
Yeah,
so
I'm
that's also
back home
good.
again after 40 years. So,
Oh, really? Excellent.
yeah, I
Well,
went to high school here.
I see. Welcome back, and
Thank you,
it's good
thank
to have you in studio. Charles is an activist, and he's very prominent on our Facebook groups and our activist events as well. And he has a patent. Was that the
I have
first
a number of
patent?
patents.
A number
of cannabis patents and other from
Let's
the medical
talk
device
about that.
industry. What are you doing there, Arby?
He's going to take some CBD oil.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
No free samples, huh?
No.
Want some?
Later.
Yeah,
Divvy it
I'm
out.
trying to fit in.
There's,
That's right.
there's absolutely
Well, yeah, one thing we do on our show is we all
0%
are proponents
THC in
of
here.
All right.
CBD. There's no THC
You,
in
you
that
don't mind
It's
that?
a hemp derived. Absolutely. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So well, we're about to talk to Charles Ackner about his patents, and there was a time, maybe about like earlier in this year, people say, "Oh, you can't get a patent on anything cannabis that because of the federal posture with regards to cannabis, you can't get a patent." But you've proven that wrong.
No, correct. That's not true. That,
Yeah.
I'm a patent paralegal from practice. I worked for a corporation for 18 years in the medical device industry. So I've been in the trenches quite a bit as far as patents are concerned. There's kind of a funny thing in the law right now. You can't trademark something directly associated with something illegal, cannabis, cocaine, whatever is on Schedule I right now. But patents you can. Because all a patent is just an exclusive right for someone to practice an invention and prevent everybody else from using it.
Mm-hmm.
So as you guys were discussing earlier, FDA, a patent doesn't have anything to do with the FDA. The FDA could care less about the patents. A lot of times companies would care less about the patents unless they start infringing yours than
Right.
other issues. So I see that coming along
one
with
thing on the
big pharma,
FDA
the patent wars. They're coming.
Yeah,
They're
the
coming.
patent wars are definitely coming, and I think in an FDA filing such as GW Pharmaceuticals, I believe there are about 27 terms or so that they're positioning to patent. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, no, they're
So
as
it
far
does
as I
have a
can see
little
from
bit
my
to do with
patent
the
searching-
FDA. So
I agree. You have to
Yes.
list them with them, but GW Pharmaceutical or any company, you can go forward without a patent. You don't have to have a patent
Oh,
to
of course.
manufacture or go forward. But then there's nothing preventing your competition from taking your R&D work,
Yep.
repackaging it, possibly improving it, putting it out there, and then patenting in front of you.
right,
Right. So there's a whole chess game that's always going on with patents.
exactly.
It's never going to end. Constitutional right, just like any other constitutional
Mm-hmm.
right, that authors and inventors have a certain amount of time to claim their creations,
Right.
right,
So-
and profit from them.
So what have you gotten patented in the cannabis space?
I'm in two spaces with cannabis. One is an improved cultivation method. There was a very nice gentleman, his name was Clarence Nelson, back in the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was part of the Hemp for Victory campaign during World War II. And he was out of the, I guess, the University of Missouri now, then it was Missouri College. And he was looking how to improve growing hemp because we needed all the resources for a global war at that time. So what he did was he put hemp in 4 different temperature differentials from the shoot to the root, and trying to find out which ones grow better, which ones don't grow better. And so the real quick part of that, the gist of it is, if you keep the top shoot of a cannabis plant cold, when I say cold, I mean 40, 45 degrees,
Right.
while you're keeping the roots warm, 70, 75 degrees.
Okay.
That the stem will thick, because it's robusting, it thinks it's in the winter.
Right.
It thinks it's colder.
So it's
but
bulking
the roots
up.
are keeping it alive and warm.
Right.
Right? So the stem thickens up, right? You get more nodes, you get shorter internodal length, and the plant grows better than even if you had 75 temperature. Closer? Okay. 75.
Gotta go this way. The front, you gotta speak into the front of it. It's not like a
Right here?
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Better?
much better.
All right, forgive me. So that's the gist of that. It's shoot-through temperature differentials. So if you time it right and do it correctly, I've doubled my bud yield. And this was in California when I was doing it. So don't email me. I'm in Florida now. This was in California a number of years ago. I would double my bud yield with just a little bit of cold air.
Right.
So I stumbled upon this in the shower. I had a
And then
growing
this-
chamber in the
you took
shower
a-
I converted to do this.
You took an approach that was used in the times of Hemp for Victory, 1942-ish, and for the hemp space, and you applied it to the marijuana space.
I did, correct.
Okay, and then
Right.
you doubled your yield as far as the bud as a result of it.
Right. What Nelson did is he put those in those temperature states. He never brought them to flora because he was looking for hemp and just said, this is what I've observed. And then everything just disappeared. The war was over.
Right.
Nobody wanted hemp anymore because it was going to affect oil and the industry and all the other
Right.
fun stuff. Right. And so it just kind of disappeared and stopped.
Interesting.
So I stumbled upon it when I was growing my own plants medicinally in California. I got the root rot.
Right.
For the cultivators, they know what that is. Your roots turn brown, they get bacteria,
Right.
pathogens. And so we had a couple of cold nights where my buckets got cold. My chute was staying warm, and then within a few days I saw my bugs are gone. So I said, okay, what's going on here? I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I found Nelson online, started playing, and then as you move these temperature changes during certain periods of vegetative and flora growth, you can make the plant go wild. It physically changes how the plant grows.
Right.
So that was the main big one. And that
Okay,
was what I
so how
found.
does that translate to a patent, and what are people permitted to do without violating your patent at that
You're
point?
not permitted to do anything. I got claim to my patents. But what is, like I said, a patent is an exclusive right. So if somebody's using shoot-to-root temperature differentials to change or improve their cannabis plants, they infringe my patent. As far as I know, the first one.
All right, I just
How
wanted
would
to
you
make
know,
that
though?
clear.
How would you be able to tell?
You can't. Every personal grower, it's very difficult. I'm not going to be in people's houses saying,
Right.
okay, are you using my patent? Not at all. But if you have a large corporation who's
Right.
doing it, right, and they're making millions of dollars of profit,
Then you got to claim.
then I got to say, hey, that's my patent
Right.
over here. Either license it, which I'll rent it to you,
Right.
because I want it to go forward, I want it to work. And if you don't, you're willfully infringing, then I'm going to have to get my lawyer. I have a patent attorney. Have my
Yep.
patent attorney come and visit you
Yep.
and pull you into federal court.
Have you had to do that
No,
to
they're
date?
so early, and people right now they're not even thinking that it works. To be honest with you, it's one of the breakthroughs. That'll never work.
Right.
See you in a couple of years. We'll see
Oh,
what's going
well,
on.
maybe
So-
after this show, there are a lot of people who,
Hopefully.
license holders actually watch this show. So,
So that's the growing path. So I have another one,
yes,
which is sedation, using cannabinoids as medical sedation.
that's the one that I've seen.
That's the one you like. That's the one you've seen.
That's the one I've seen, and I have questions.
Oh, I got. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, no, I want to hear you
Well,
describe
the
it
thing
to
is
the
this
audience.
is, through some research and then some personal experiences that I've had, and then some experimentation that I did, scientifically, there are no cannabinoid receptors in the brainstem, neither CB1 or CB2. That's why cannabis is so safe. We touched
Yes.
on that earlier.
Right.
It's not like the opiates. It's not like anything else.
Right.
Right. It uses different pathways, but it never suppresses the breathing.
Right.
Right. Everything, alcohol, even caffeine,
Right.
if you go too far with it, will suppress the breathing, right? But there are no cannabinoid receptors in the brainstem. Lo and behold, why is that? Right? Who would think of something like that?
That's God's design.
There you go. So I was fishing for it. I was looking
Right.
for it.
God's
So,
design.
so after, in the California market, it's not really regulated that well. And this was back in 2011 or so. I had some edibles I was using for arthritis in my spine, and it was 200 milligrams. Right,
Okay.
and 50 milligrams each chopped up. Well, I'm a big boy. I've been using cannabis for a number of years. I popped the whole thing, like 200 milligrams.
Right.
So I'm on the couch, and that's exactly where I stayed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my son at that time comes up, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's going on with you?" "I'm fine, perfectly fine." So that pushes, okay, if that is so relaxing to do that, and I know cannabis is very safe, what if I pushed it further? So 200, 500 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams orally, 1,500 milligrams of cannabis orally, 5,000 milligrams of cannabis all at once orally.
Wow.
What happened?
I was there on the couch. I wasn't going anywhere.
So you experimented on
There was an
yourself.
experiment, and then it even went further. After that, then I started looking at it, working with a pharmacist. She's now passed away. I was able to get synthetic cannabis, Marinol, but it was a generic brand. And with this pharmacist, I started experimenting with injecting
Oh my
pharmaceutical cannabis, synthetic,
Wow.
right?
On yourself?
On myself. Because I know there are regulations. You can't sit here and say, even though you're willing your consent, you can't run and inject somebody.
Right.
You have to be a licensed physician. But I can to
Inject
myself
yourself,
within
right.
the law. So I did that. I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was 1 milligram, and this was in the femoral artery. 1 milligram, 5 milligrams, 25 milligrams. And then there was a hard shot. That was a few months later. It was 1,000 milligrams of synthetic THC.
Okay.
And within, I would say, anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds,
Right.
you know, it's almost like Metallica and Enter Sandman,
Right.
right? Couple of spins in one direction, you know, the audio sensitivity was there, right? Your depth perception goes, everything becomes flat, right? Or it becomes very far, and then you go down a black hole so deep, right? It's like the dude on The Big Lebowski,
Right.
when they're drugging him. So down that black hole, and that's anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, right? So it was almost instantaneous. So that's what I'm looking at, and the trademark I coined is non-lethal weaponized cannabis.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on with that. Talk about the FDA, what that's going to entail. The
Right,
FDA
of
is going to allow
course.
that to do.
Yeah.
But the predicate is there. The Marinol and the other synthetic THCs are there. So if you're changing it from there, using it orally to injected, it's a fast road in the FDA.
Right.
But that's, you know, that's beyond me. That's what I'm looking for. Investors, a good anesthesiologist who has a vision to do something like this.
Is that what you're looking to do? Is for anesthesia?
You bet, you bet. I've got the patent application for medical anesthesia used in the operating room.
Nice.
That's
Both,
amazing.
both inhaled and injected.
Will it be, with that concept, I guess it would be tolerance specific or so people with higher tolerance, for an anesthesiologist, wouldn't they have to know what someone's current usage of cannabis is to understand the tolerance? Or are you saying that based on your experiment on yourself, you had a high tolerance and it affected you this way?
I was a cannabis patient for a number of years, so my therapeutic THC level was right up there.
Right.
And it still worked. I mean, it's overwhelming the system.
And then even though it did work for someone with a high tolerance, with someone, what I guess another step in the research would be evaluating someone without a tolerance who has not indulged whatsoever in THC and just making sure and validating the assertion of it being non-lethal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same, you know, there is no tolerance in the brainstem. If there's no cannabinoid receptors there, especially CB1 receptors, there is no tolerance one way or the other, so it's not going to affect the breathing of
Right.
anybody.
Of anyone.
So as far as I know, that's been on primate studies. That was back in '72 with Schaefer. The Schaefer
Oh, so there
report to
have
the
been
president.
primate studies already?
Of the lethality of THC.
At those milligrams that you were doing on yourself?
Oh no,
at
I
that
was nowhere
level?
near it.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near it. I think I've calculated and I've claimed in the patents that the LD50 dose is 9.2 grams of THC per kilogram of body weight. Grams, not milligrams. So you'd have to have a vial like this, pumping it in the person all at once. And that's just where half of the people may die. You still have another range above that. But the effective dose is anywhere from 10, well, now they're saying for intoxication, it's 4 nanograms per milliliter of blood. And I'm thinking, and my calculations have been anywhere from 122 to 175 milligrams per milliliter of whole blood as being LD50. But the effective dose is down so small. The effective dose could be one puff off a cannabis cigarette or 10 cc injection somewhere. And because it's injected, it's so overwhelming to the system.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
direct.
But you're going to breathe all the way through it. You don't have to worry about it. That's the problem with the opiates. They suppress breathing.
Right.
And you connect that with alcohol. You know,
And it's alcohol or Xanax or so
Yeah,
much.
so many things, but not
it puts
cannabis.
You literally die because you stop breathing.
Yeah, it
It's
suppresses the
crazy.
brainstem and it just stops. The heart keeps going because that's almost more of an autonomic system, but the breathing suppresses it. You know, and tragically that happened to my niece a few months ago.
Wow.
That quick.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So
sorry
the
about
safety of cannabis, even injected, you know, people say, this guy must be insane. He's injecting himself with THC,
that. Yes,
right?
and high
Well,
milligrams.
a certain amount of high, nowhere near lethal. You know, that's per kilogram of body weight. You know, 9.2 grams per. You couldn't get it into yourself, right?
And we don't recommend that. Now again, we got to be very.
No, I'm not advocating that. This is in a medical setting. This is for the patent purposes only. An anesthesiologist and a pharmaceutical company with doctors are going to have to develop this. Okay, I can see in ancient times, we'll say 5,000 years ago, you know, somebody's got their cannabis oil. You know, I'm going to get a thorn. I'm going to hollow that, but there was so much particulate matter, and they saw this in the shaving report. You start injecting organics that are not filtered and done correctly, they'll clog up your lungs, and they'll give you an emboli, and you'll die.
Right.
And so they saw this with the primates they were doing back in '72. So they had to change how they were doing it. It's in the Schaefer report. Good reading if you can't fall asleep.
So do not try this at home.
Do not. Do not. Okay. I had a pharmacist with me. You know, I was protected. There was no issues like that. And I did my research. And it was on myself, right? And it was not a suicidal attempt because you can't with cannabis.
No.
Right.
So the intent was
That
gone.
would
There's
be
no
the
mens rea.
worst choice for
no
that.
mens rea, right? The actus, I was guilty, but no mens rea. So,
I
that's
think,
what I was doing.
and that's where education comes across. I mean, there's so many people doing different things to affect the industry, and really on a positive effect, because as you said, nobody's ODing, nobody's dying.
I'd like to
We've
see
had
the
a couple
death certificate
symptoms
that
from
says that.
what's it called?
Scromiting.
Scromedy, and
Have you heard of scromiting?
I mean, we've never heard of it.
Scromiting is a new condition that's been diagnosed by doctors out west, where people are turning up in the emergency room screaming and vomiting at the simultaneously from
It's
too much
cannabis.
cannabis.
Ridiculous.
And I just found Snopes has said that that's
Snoop?
Snopes, the
Snopes.
fact check website that actually fact checks fake news for Facebook.
Okay.
They said it's 100% true.
Stop
People
it.
I'm thinking
Scromiting.
this is synthetic. This is some K2 thing.
No, this is from cannabis.
Or there's something on that cannabis, Nemo
I
or
agree.
something.
That's what I
think
said
there's
last
Mold
week.
or something
That's what I
like
said
that.
last
I don't
week. I
think
said
it's-
it's
I don't
probably
think it's anything.
contaminated
Yeah,
with
especially molds and
mold
fungus.
or something,
Molds and
might
fungus,
something.
you
You think it's a mold or a fungus that would cause people to scrom it?
I mean,
Yeah, I think
mold.
it's some type of
Listen, I can tell you,
The screaming part might be the holiday season, but the other part.
that's the bills coming in.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm very intrigued. So, and what made you choose Marinol? Is it because of the absence of
Well,
CBD in that?
There wasn't
narcotic,
anything.
or-
People were making oils. I didn't know what the purity was. You know, like I said, you never know what you're going to get unless you know the source. And they were already available. They already been tested. They were edibles. They've been used for years. It's not the same as cannabis. It's synthetic. And at least with me, it hit me harder than most cannabis. I mean, it knocked me on my tail. And so that's when I started thinking, if this works fast enough and it's safe enough, you could use this as a non-lethal weapon.
Right.
I remember reading
Remember that?
Yeah,
that gets people
yeah.
attention. They go, non-lethal can, what the? But and I keep going through there's always downsides to it, yes and no. But if you can get this into somebody, and
Yeah,
I also have
there
a
are
patent
downsides.
going for a dart. It's called Cannadart. Let's say somebody's intoxicated.
Closer to the mic.
Let's say somebody's intoxicated. Let's say somebody is mentally ill and they're having an episode or something that comes along. The family can't do anything. They have to call the police. The police come. They're put in that situation where somebody is not in their right mind.
We
They
have a runner.
Yeah, they have a weapon. It depends on the officer. It's not Logan's Run, right? What you're going to do, right? So if I can have a dart or spray them with a gel in the face or an inhalable that gets enough cannabis into them, especially THC, where it takes their cerebrum, which is full of cannabinoid receptors, and that's the voluntary muscle movement, and they get this thing in the thigh, or they get this thing in the chest, or sprayed in their face, I say within 10 to 15 seconds, they're down
Right.
and out, extremely compliant, and you don't have to worry about their breathing.
Right.
Turn them over, cuff them, make sure their neck's not caught, make sure they're breathing, on to the next person if it's a terrible situation or something. But even if it's just one person, Uncle Louie is a little screwy, and I can get him with that dart and save his life. Because right now, he might be getting a 9mm.
Right.
So the con is there's potential for abuse. Abuse by law enforcement in the sedation.
Well, there could be, but the abuse is non-lethal.
Right, and I was going to say a pro is at least it's non-lethal, so that might be something that's a replacement of guns.
Replacement of guns, you can put it in the OC spray. It's already in the pepper sprays out there.
Yeah.
So by the time they're recovering from their eyes, they're in the Bahamas. It's that simple, that quick.
In your
and safe
filing, are you recommending that be used in military and law enforcement settings only?
Not necessarily, because if you have a family member in a hospital, use it as a PRN, they're called. So it's prescribed as needed. So if somebody in the house, they have a child, the young man who's up there for having a psychotic break, he killed 2 people in their garage.
Right.
He's on trial right now.
Them.
Right. And I guess they didn't have those triggers, or they didn't have those warning signs there. But if he's at home and something is going on,
somebody snaps.
Right. You could have some type of a jab stick, just like for epileptic shock and things like that. You jab them in the thigh. They're ticked off. It's going to hurt, but they're going to be down in 10 or 15 seconds. And then you get them the medical help they need.
Right.
So.
Definitely.
So a lot of things be worked out.
A
lot of things be worked out, but it works. It's already been tested. It works now. The acceptance in the FDA, like you said, you just can't go around injecting anybody you want.
Right.
It's
I'm picturing
that might happen quite often.
Yeah,
and
I'm picturing.
And then there's
depends on the household.
The date rape risk and things like that.
I'm picturing like Lifetime movie plots.
Well,
a woman takes some THC and a needle and gets the other woman so she can steal her husband.
That would be great. That'd be
novels
great.
and fiction to be written on this. My dad likes the one commercial where the guy's looking at the razor blades in the store, and he comes up behind him with the blow dart.
Blow dart.
Stack. He goes, "Hey, that's Canada." My dad, he's 84 years old. "They're infringing. That's your Canada." I go, "No, Dad. They've been blowpipes around for long. It's probably curare. It's probably curare. Hopefully he'll be okay."
Well, we got to take a break here. Yeah. Leon, take us out for a minute.
All right, we are going to break. You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Rose World.
Welcome to Florida's only cannabis radio program. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio. Green Roads World is recognized as one of the world's leading suppliers of CBD products, and Cannabis Life Radio is giving away Green Roads CBD products every week. To join, just tune in on our Facebook Live broadcast every Saturday morning at 10 and follow the instructions on air and in the comment section. Cannabis Life Radio is teaming up with Green Roads World to give you free CBD. Good luck from Cannabis Life Radio and Green Roads World.
Across the state to across the country, the Hemp Kings is your online home for hemp oil products. From organic hemp oil to intense concentrates, there is only one name you need to remember. The Hemp Kings.
The Hemp Kings.
Our hemp cream pain blaster lotions uses natural essential oils to deliver hemp's natural pain reliever directly to the site of inflammation for long-lasting relief. Now, our Pain Blaster Hemp Cream has now gone to the extreme.
Extreme?
Extreme!
Extreme!
New Pain Blaster Extreme Cream delivers even more relief, even faster! The best hemp products at the best prices delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. TheHempKings.com!
TheHempKings.com!
As a loving pet owner, you want to treat your senior dog for dysplasia, neuropathy, and joint discomfort with minimal traditional chemical medication. And as loving pet owners, we at King Canine agree, and we're excited to make our signature CBD line available to you. Derived from all-natural cannabidiol compounds, lab-tested, non-GMO, plant-based, cutting-edge King Calm CBD reduces inflammation and discomfort naturally, and even reduces anxiety from fireworks and thunderstorms. Go to kingcanine.com, that's KINGKANINE for details, and browse a full line of products like King Calm De-Shedder, King Calm Balm, and King Clean Shampoo for pet wellness inside and out. Order now using the code BARK20 for an exclusive 20% discount. KINGKANINE.com, King Calm CBD, and the rest of our natural cannabidiol products. King Canine, for natural pet wellness inside and out.
Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oil, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic coffee when checking out our beautiful showroom. Florida Home Grow also carries unique hemp items like jewelry, soaps, clothing, and accessories. Don't forget to try refreshing natural lemonade or delicious ice cream sandwiches. Florida Home Grow is conveniently located on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike. We're the #1 sellers of hemp oil products because our stuff works.
This is the radio show people talk about all week long. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
Just go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just
turn it
shoot
on.
for it,
All
right?
Cannabis Life Radio is on the air. This is Florida's original Cannabis Radio program. And we have a guest here.
We do have a
we
guest.
have Charles Ackner. He's a friend. He's a fellow activist, very involved in the industry, and has at least 2 cannabis-related patents. We spoke earlier about the first one, which is a specific growing technique that he is revised from observations in the 40s in the hemp industry, applied it to the marijuana industry, and he's seen an improvement in yields. And then the second one is a cannabis sedation formulation.
Right.
So very interesting stuff.
See what comes of it. Yeah. See what comes of it.
Yeah, let's see what comes of it. You know, I have my concerns because I'm always worried about abuse of power, but I see the benefits. One, especially in a hospital
Abuse of
setting.
power.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you know, I'm always thinking
never
that.
heard of that before.
Yeah, I'm always exactly. You know, me and you were like,
we're
abuse of authority,
right
abuse
there.
of power.
Conspiracy, all kinds of crazy stuff.
So those are my concerns also. You know, I'm going to bring up the date rape thing, but with those high concentrations.
Right.
But again, there's so many benefits that can come from it.
That's the thing, is the safety. Yeah, the benefits and the safety.
You know, I'm an activist with regard to police brutality and moving to a community policing approach. So I think I would love to see, instead of guns with law enforcement, some type of sedation approach. So
we got 140.
People would live. They'd go down.
We have
They
140.
stay down, but they'll be back up.
But they'll be back up.
Yeah, we have 140 million guns.
The
I think that's going to be a little bit. That's going to be a little rough. I think we need to be able to implement something that is safer for the community, 1,000%. But forever for us to think that police officers are going to relinquish their weapons is.
Well, let's get rid of the batons, because they're clearly not using the batons.
Oh, they don't use that baton. They pull that pull stick. Boy, that pull stick. That's whoever rented that. Ooh, that's a cause of pain.
I think this is a good half step before using a gun to kill somebody.
Well, that's the thing is the continuum of force and lethality. You know, where do you draw the line for lethality? If someone is shooting at police officers, actively shooting at police officers, for the most part, they have no choice.
Right.
You know, they're going to have to return fire. Right?
Absolutely.
But
agreed.
Yeah. Now, if they can get away or there's extenuating circumstances, but, you know, you have to be the person on the scene, make that decision, and then take the responsibility of the consequences of that decision. Now, let's say there's somebody who's not in their right mind. They've, taken a child or something. They're held up in a house, right? They're not firing. They're not doing anything. But we have to get that person separated from these children. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're not going to lob lethal weaponry into the house and hope everything works out okay.
Right.
Right. Now, there's
That
tear
usually
gas. There's
doesn't end
other
well.
things. It usually doesn't end well.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can lob in a canister, 2 ends, trademarked, into that house, and anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes later, everyone is unconscious but safe, then you can go in and do what you need to do.
Definitely.
But that's the problem, though. They
They don't have
have
the
these
resources.
they have these type of resources already.
Well, they do for, to a certain amount, but it's mostly harassing agents. They don't put anything in there. And there are international treaties for chemical warfare, different things like that. They're not lobbing in mustard gas. They're not lobbing in
Right.
chlorine, right? So there's very few agents they can put in there except a harassing agent.
Right.
Right.
Like
And that's just
pepper.
going to tick the person off more who's got the gun.
Agitate 'em.
And you got bad situation, right?
Yeah.
But if you can get a clear, odorless, non-seen gas, cannabis, THC, into that house, into the air conditioning system or something, quickly, if you get the concentration high enough, they will be asleep. They won't know where they are, everyone, including if there's any victims, and they can be coming and helped, right? So you have to find out. The potential is there, though. There's a lot of potential to it.
I think there's going to be a lot of potential coming from the plant, absolutely, in many different formats, from whether it's paper, whether it's bedding for animals,
Sure.
whether it's pellets, food. We were speaking earlier about we are what we eat. So,
Right.
so that's a big thing of how we feeding our endocannabinoid, system.
Right.
So I think we're many years away to find out what kind of damage they did in the 1930s and the 1940s when they made it completely illegal.
Right.
We're going to find out if we're blessed to be here, to be able to see another life term, another generation, and see if we're able to provide this to animals, feed off those animals, because everybody's, not everybody's watched What the Health. And whoever has, I'm pretty sure is not
refuse to
eating
watch it 'cause
anymore
I like bacon.
meat. So I
Bacon.
I would love to see what's
What's
going to
coming.
happen.
Yeah, what's coming.
How is it going to evolve? Is it going to help? We're going to see a drop in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and spasms, cancer.
Violence.
I was just showing a video of a friend of mine, Bridget. God rest her soul. She passed away on Wednesday of cancer, 47 years old.
Lord have mercy.
So we talk about that all the time on this show, where we were younger, you would see 1-2 people die of that.
Right.
Today, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
40, 50-year-olds, early teens, leukemia,
Right.
autism, everything is like out there. I don't know if it's because it's the population, what's going on, where it's like in our face every day.
Right.
Every day.
Well, and I think that's where people are making progress too. Homeopathic doctors and ODs and osteopaths are looking at that. More better prevention than cure. And so if there was cannabinoids in our food chain again, and you did have your can of Wheaties and you had those in the morning, and maybe that guy wouldn't be held up in his house with that child, where we had to use cannabis to get him out of there because he's leveled out and,
Right.
and everybody's doing well.
Yeah, it's
and then,
so
and then there's
important.
cannabinoids as antipsychotic medications.
Yeah.
That's, for me, that's the big problem. That's coming.
Yeah.
And that's going to be small to mid-sized pharma who has a heart for that to cure these mental illnesses with
Absolutely.
cannabis, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't need the can of dart
No.
because the guy's doing okay.
I mean, they're starting to use it for psychosis.
Yeah.
What they're starting to realize is it actually defends your receptors in your brain. and it protects you versus that trauma. That once a person has trauma, they carry it for the rest of their life. So if we could help stop that trauma, that person could be better in life, maybe have a successful career. Because a lot of people that go through these type of traumas, end up, drinking a bottle.
Well, it's generational too. Generational trauma and hereditary. And self-medicating. Like I know you guys preach that here. Thank God you preach that here. The cannabis is not a gateway drug. It's an exit drug, and the worst gateway drug is the most legal alcohol.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
That's where everybody starts. And
everybody does drugs when they're on alcohol.
Well, that's what it is.
That's what it is because it's so easy.
That's why I don't drink.
So they threw cannabis in with the killers, like the opiates,
Christmas parties.
And it's just. But it's coming, and like you said, it's grassroots and it's coming. And
I know there's a lot of discussion around cannabis with the chemotherapy as well to balance off the chemotherapy. So
and that's what I'm looking for, that magic lethality of THC. If we know where THC is lethal, everything below that is therapeutic.
Right.
So if you can bring somebody who has late stage cancer, bring them up close to that lethal level.
If it exists, we don't.
It may not.
It may not exist.
But it's lethal to the cancer.
Right.
In vivo, in the person. They've already done that.
Right.
So if you have to, hit the mic. If you have to go to a cancer therapy, okay, I'm going to be under heavy THC for about a week and a half. I'm not going to know where I'm at, but the cancer's gone. Right. Because it's so high and so pure, right? You might not be able to do it with the plant. You couldn't distill it enough to do it with the plant. Ancient man couldn't do that, like I was saying before. Ancient humanity couldn't do that because they emboli themselves. They don't know how to inject things. That's 1700s, 1800s.
Well,
so
thanks
those
for
type
looking
of things
at
are
that,
coming.
and even I mean, this is a whole different and brand new conversation as far as medicinal benefits of cannabis. During the break, we talked briefly about the patent wars that are coming.
Oh yeah, I think so.
In the industry, it's just naturally the next phase in a growing, an industry in the infancy. A lot of ideas spark at the same time, different parts of the world, different parts of the country. It's just evolutionary. So what are you anticipating?
Well, on LinkedIn, I got a little thing, this is business, this is war. And the company I used to work for, we came out of medical device. It was endoscopy. And that was a war there itself among, many large corporations. Stryker is another one, large corporations we went to war with as far as patents. But because cannabis space is so new, and they are starting to grant patents, like you said, there's a spike, there's a rise to that. Now, some people, they're anti-patent. No, give it to mankind. Let everybody have it. But the fallacy of that is that anybody who's at a company, they by contract have to have max amount of profit for their shareholders. That means they have to exploit anything and everything they can to do it. Yeah. So unless you patent it, they're going to produce it.
No, you have to. There's no way around that.
And that's what it's there for, that protection. So, I see the Big 7 now, Big 8 in Florida and other companies. You mentioned GW Pharmaceutical, that they're doing a lot of extraction. They're making oils. There's a lot of novel ways to do this. Patents being filed. Matter of fact, I worked on a patent for a gentleman up in Staten Island, New York, who has a very unique extraction distilling method. No solvents, very pure. He's playing with his terpene profiles and things. He's looking at curing diseases. Right. Lyme disease, different things, epilepsy, a lot of things going on there. So those things are coming, and they're going to be patented. But my biggest thing with the Big 7 in Florida is their growing methods or their extraction methods. They might not be aware of the patents that are out there.
Agreed.
Right?
And because, again, it ties into the fact that, it's because of the federal restriction, because of how we stand federally. Every state is looked at as an individual, not sovereign, but every state is doing things their own way. So there isn't that cross-pollination of even knowing what's happening somewhere else. You hire some highfalutin consultant from somewhere, you just trust in what they're telling you as far as their ability to do this and their authority to give you this knowledge, and then you never check it because you're a novice. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
this
I
has been
think
very
we're gonna have to.
stimulating. Thank you so much.
I don't mean to wrap up, but I think we're gonna have to take that on to another day on Sea Life Radio and talk about patents, because it's very important to be able to trademark what somebody's been working on 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whether it's a growing method or extraction method.
Well,
So
let's do that. Let me give you one example. Vaporizers, all the e-cigarettes. I did a big patent search for a client on that. And what's coming with that is tobacco. Right?
Oh, the
Tobacco
R.J. Reynolds is all over it.
who own mostly all those e-cigarette
Yep.
ones. So if these companies are going to start offering something, whomever the tobacco company is going to see, hey, they're infringing our patent.
yeah.
And just filing of the lawsuit, not even having to win it, is destructive to that company. So,
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
we'll get to that on our next show on Sea Life Radio. We had one of our guests for the 11:30 hour. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll have the new guest on.
Yay!
Yay!
You are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green Roads World.
World.
As a loving pet owner, you want to treat your senior dog for dysplasia, neuropathy, and joint discomfort with minimal traditional chemical medication. And as loving pet owners, we at King Canine agree, and we're excited to make our signature CBD line available to you. Derived from all-natural cannabidiol compounds, lab-tested, non-GMO, plant-based, cutting-edge King Calm CBD reduces inflammation and discomfort naturally, and even reduces anxiety from fireworks and thunderstorms. Go to kingcanine.com, that's KINGKANINE for details, and browse a full line of products like King Comb De-Shedder, King Calm Balm, and King Clean Shampoo for pet wellness inside and out. Order now using the code BARK20 for an exclusive 20% discount. KINGKANINE.com, King Calm CBD, and the rest of our natural cannabidiol products. King Canine, for natural pet wellness inside and out.
Across the state to across the country, the Hemp Kings is your online home for hemp oil products. From organic hemp oil to intense concentrates, there is only one name you need to remember. The Hemp Kings.
The Hemp King.
Our hemp cream pain blaster lotions uses natural essential oils to deliver hemp's natural pain reliever directly to the site of inflammation for long-lasting relief. Now, our Pain Blaster Hemp Cream has now gone to the extreme.
Extreme?
Extreme!
Extreme!
New Pain Blaster Extreme Cream delivers even more relief, even faster! The best hemp products at the best prices delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. TheHempKings.com!
TheHempKings.com.
Green Roads World is recognized as one of the world's leading suppliers of CBD products, and Cannabis Life Radio is giving away Green Road CBD products every week. To join, just tune in on our Facebook Live broadcast every Saturday morning at 10 and follow the instructions on air and in the comment section. Cannabis Life Radio is teaming up with Green Roads World to give you free CBD. Good luck from Cannabis Life Radio and Green Roads World.
Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oil, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic coffee when checking out our beautiful showroom. Florida Home Grow also carries unique hemp items like jewelry, soaps, clothing, and accessories. Don't forget to try refreshing natural lemonade or delicious ice cream sandwiches. Florida Home Grow is conveniently located on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike. We're the #1 sellers of hemp oil products because our stuff works.
Nobody covers cannabis news like Cannabis Life Radio. Nobody.
Cannabis Life Radio. Cannabis Life Radio is on the air. I am Leon Hamilton, along with R.B. Barroso, Cheryl Murray Powell, and a very special guest, one of my favorite people on the planet.
Wow.
I'll even let you introduce.
You bumped me.
Go ahead.
So,
You introduce.
yes.
I already
Go
did.
ahead and-
Robert Roundtree, yes.
Oh, Mr. Robert Roundtree.
Yes.
We're actually on the radio. We had the podcast. I heard it. It's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great job getting out there. We're actually talking about getting these collectives, as you mentioned, which I think was a perfect name, of getting people together and really spreading the word and really putting everybody's efforts into one. We've talked about, and I don't mean to go straight into this, but we only have half an hour, and having you here at the table is a blessing. And thank you for being here and really, taking the drive to get down here and sit down with us. It's really cool and important because you have been one of the people that have been pounding the pavement.
That's right. Yeah. Literally pounding the pavement.
Like pounding the pavement.
He faces Pigman instead of dealing with him online, like me. He goes and messes with him face to face.
That was an interesting chain of events last year, or earlier this year.
One right after another. As soon as he was on our show, or we talked about him on our show, and then he started with the fight with me and started with the fight with you, and 2 hours later he's
poof.
Like literally, like poof.
Literally,
like, boom,
poof.
And I wanted to say thank you. I'm honored to be down here with y'all. This is a great honor. But you know what else went poof, which kind of angered me, Arby, is apparently his record. The whole thing.
Really?
It's not clean.
No, his record.
His DUI.
His DUI.
His DUI is gone?
Poof.
Yeah, poof.
Poof.
Well, isn't that interesting?
It happened really quickly too. Just swept under
Well,
the rug.
they've kept him quiet. He's probably doing his community service, and he's probably going to one of these classes that he might have showed up once to sign in. And for anybody else that's sitting at this table, it would absolutely be detrimental to everything. Coming from somebody who had a DWI,
Me too.
from being pulled over and having all my medications and my prescriptions all in one bottle in 2010, and I was pulled over by Plantation Police, which actually today we spoke about it last week. Stephen Bowser was one of the arresting officers, and now is buying our CBD and actually has a CrossFit off of 595. I took a picture with him. It was kind of pretty cool.
So the guy that arrested you for DUI is actually selling your products, CBD products.
Yes, sir.
Incredible.
It's how crazy is that?
That's the way of the world, my friend.
So to have somebody like that politically connected, and that's the problem. I think with our society is they always think what's best for us. They always want to tell us what we should and we shouldn't do. And as human beings, we all have a soul. We all have an understanding of what's right, what's wrong, what can we do, what shouldn't we do. And I could drink, I don't drink much at all. And when I do, I get very tipsy very fast. For our Christmas party, I got very tipsy very fast.
You handle your
and
own.
I typically end up happening where I don't really eat beforehand. So it's not a good thing. So it was Uber from the second I got there, and then we were Ubering home, and it was right down the street from our house. But for having somebody with, first it's a doctor. Second was sitting on the committee in cannabis.
He was the chairman at the time of the medical committee.
Exactly. So, and then really making fun of people over their decisions to choose something that comes from the earth, and makes people feel good. At the same time, helps medically with pain, with sleeping, with any of these things, and to compare it to alcohol and him choosing alcohol over cannabis, till this day with everything across, whether it's hemp derived, whether it's CBD, whether it's anything that has to do with the plant itself is really amazing to me. And then now his, like you said, poof goes his record.
Yeah, it sure did. It went poof, but this is one of the reasons we need these collectives to form and start having a stronger voice, which you and I were talking about on the podcast. The more we need to get people more involved, get them a message, and I think what happened was the news cycle on him died down, so it was swept under the rug.
Oh yeah.
If we could have kept the momentum going and really let the leadership in Tallahassee know, and locally, that stuff's just not okay.
Yeah.
We're not saying he's like a horrible person for getting a DUI.
Right.
I've had a DUI,
Yeah.
but it's when you're arguing with people back and forth
Online.
on social media
and calling them idiots.
And mocking them. I remember one question was, how much does Big Pharma pay you?
Right.
And he said, not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Unbelievable, the things he was saying. And then hours
crazy.
later, he gets arrested for DUI. Your representatives, folks.
Yeah. There were some other rumors. I heard that he had CBD in the car.
Really?
Yeah, I wonder, maybe it was Green Roads. I mean, I'm not saying it was, but that's who I would have chosen.
I wouldn't be clapping over that one, but if he had it in there. But talk
if
about
he's
what
listening,
you do.
he should switch this alcohol for the CBD.
Definitely.
It'll be a lot better.
It would be great if he actually took that challenge. I know a lot of people, including people sitting at this table, that called him out and tried to have a conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he had any sense, I think people should, anybody that's representing a committee that has to do with hemp or cannabis or any of that, I think should first go and see a family that's dealing with the fact of they might have to leave a state that they're in to go to a rec or a medical state.
Right.
I think that they should be forced to spend 3 days with that family to see what that family goes through with their children, whether it's seizures or cancer or somebody that's as dyslexic that starts to choose to use cannabis as something to help them eat, which is a big thing that a lot of people don't talk about. And a lot of people pass away and die due to having that type of disease. On that case, what is it that you do on a daily basis? Like, where do you concentrate most of your efforts? I know we spoke about doing a collective. I know you do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're extremely involved with True Leaf. And Jose Belen, which shout out again, Jose Belen.
Yeah, Mission Zero.
Mission Zero, amazing organization. What is it? What's the daily Robert Roundtree grind?
Okay, so I get up. It'll usually take me about an hour or so to get going. I'm not a morning person.
So you're one of those old cars that you just got to just spin that.
Yeah, might have to push me down the hill, pop the clutch. The clutch would be my coffee. I like it really
once
stiff.
you get going.
Once I get going, though, I usually will check out the news cycle of the day and see if there's any news, because the mainstream outlets will usually put it out, first thing in the morning before I'm up. And if there's anything of interest, I'll check into that. My biggest thing that I do, though, is respond to patients. They message me on Facebook, my phone. I'm fairly available. I mean, my phone number is all over the place, and really interact with patients and help them. So you mentioned I do a lot of support for True Leaf. So somehow I've become like the de facto, non-official representative to patients.
That's
so
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So they'll ask me how to use the True Clear, so I'd share recipes.
That's awesome.
I'm primarily patient-focused and trying to help people out, really. And then
So
from
you're
that...
the educator on that side for
but it's
doctors that don't know, but they recommend it to for prescription, for recommendation, and they come to you because you're educated and you have many years of experience.
Yeah, and they know that I have a pretty extensive network of, like you said, doctors, dispensaries. I'm not just friendly with True Leaf, despite what everyone says. So...
and again, let me interrupt.
No,
it doesn't really even matter.
No, I know.
As long as you're putting your time and effort into the patient, it doesn't really matter. The more you're associated with, the better.
Oh, absolutely.
Because somebody
and
with
the
your
more,
type of talent is
the more
is
change
awesome.
you can have, because not any entity or anything can help everyone.
Exactly.
So that's why collectives, networks are good. So I use my network to try and get people medicine if they need it. figure out recipes. I mean, runs the gamut, and none of that's like what I do for a living. You know, that's just what I do to help people out.
That's so cool.
So with
like
your podcast, you just kind of had a resurgence with your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing regular interviews. What made you go back to the broadcasting side of your activism?
Well, just circumstances dictated why I couldn't do it until now. I just didn't have a place set up. My microphone got stolen. A whole bunch of excuses not to do it.
How did it feel to be back?
But the real reason is, it's great. The real reason is sessions cranking up, and we got to apply some heat to these politicians. So during the lull of, not having a political session, I focus most of my efforts like on direct help and direct support.
Patient contact.
Organizing other support for people. The Smart Collective, they're great. I would love to plug them. Every time they're there to help. If I call on them,
And I know
and veterans, they love supporting veterans.
You, Smart Collective, Mission Zero, did some hurricane relief activity
We did,
as well.
and it was supported by a whole bunch of other people. True Leave, Revive Magazine. We True Leave donated the fuel. Revive had this awesome barbecue where we just went down and gave away a bunch of food.
And that's in Key West?
That was in
Key West,
it was in North. It's called like North Naples, but basically Naples,
was
Fort
hit
Myers.
pretty hard, yeah.
Yeah, it was hit hard. It was pretty devastating on that trip. So that's like the day. That's like a day in my life. It might be traveling around the state,
constant,
and just grinding.
constant grind.
Yeah, and then networking and politicking. Calling politicians. I don't always call them like we call Pigman out, although that was fun.
Pretty fun.
That was fun.
I don't
for
recommend
a while,
that being your way to get the foot in the door.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I would like to be the one to say that, since I'm a little controversial at times.
But
that's why we love you.
I think you've evolved over. I've watched you over the past, I would say, 7 months, kind of evolve with more of a focus on being an objective journalist and giving a balanced view of these types of situations. And I think that's when you're going to see a lot of support from mainstream media to continue these stories that need to be continued, like you mentioned with Representative Pigman. When we're enjoying too much the fall, we kind of lose sight of, the big picture and what we're trying to do and who we need to engage with. If again, a mainstream media station, if they see a story and we're like just enjoying someone's fall, they're not going to pick that up. But if it's straight objective journalism, they're going to pick it up, and then we can carry the story, and it'll be you guys were the ones who broke the news. And I see a lot more of that activity from you. Extremely proud of you and your efforts in that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And then that would be like the final component of what I do is write my own stories, both promotional pieces for brands that I like, and then just a massive social media presence across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
I mean, you guys are doing an amazing job. I always kind of, as we spoke the other day, take a step back to you guys and just watch the grind that you guys have really, gone off to. And the amount of shows and the amount of miles that you put on a van or in that car, and just getting the real groups together that are really trying to make that effort and that push. And now that season is starting, 2018, governor races, senator races, House representative races. This is the fun time of the year, as I would say, because now, yes, besides the activism and us getting out there and really preaching about whether it's hemp-derived CBD, whether it's cannabis, whether it's full plant, whether it's flower, whether it's smokable, whatever it is, the fact is that right now is the perfect time that if you want to get involved in the industry and be part of something that's bigger than just one individual person, right now is the time to speak to your representatives, become part of a group, do something right now, because 2018 will set precedent on what we do in Florida. And it could be very bad if people do not get up and have their voices heard, or it could be amazing and everybody could step up and everybody could leave, as we said, our egos on the sideline, and make sure that we create that group where anybody who, whether they're sitting home and can make a couple phone calls to reach out to the local politicians, to the regionals, to the state, to Tallahassee. We've always said their phone rings. They don't have cell phones. They got to hear an office phone ring, and at the same time they got to respond to emails. Right now is the time. Is there anything that you have planned? I know we had spoken about getting some things done and getting them done rather quickly, because right now is the time to really start pushing forward and having our agenda heard. Do you think that in our industry that's full of people with egos,
big egos, mine
big egos, which is really what's gotten a lot of people where they're at, to be honest with you. So there's nothing wrong with having that
remark.
But you're kind of hiding over there. So
as long as the movement is superior to you.
Right. So what you think it's a possibility to get these people and everybody together and really form a collective, as you said, or something similar to that, where we could actually really reach out and have them hear us like they did for the vote in 2016. But obviously that wasn't far enough. We didn't get enough done during that time, because they're still arguing how should we do it. There's no really true dispensaries besides True Leaf.
Most of the rules aren't even out yet. Like, edible rules aren't out. The products are getting delayed.
Yep.
I saw something today that they said Bax probably isn't even going to do the licensing until the summer.
Wow.
I mean, and we're in session, so the whole thing can change anyways.
Yeah.
It can just be redone.
I heard a lot of people that are waiting for their cards now are getting waivers instead to hold them over until they get their card.
I think once they get the email
it's
confirmation,
like a temporary.
Once they get the email confirmation, they can utilize that to get access to product.
So they can get the products without getting their actual card.
Yeah.
So what's the point of actually getting the card? I don't understand.
For the state to make money, or the next private corporation to make money. The card is actually more than a hunting and fishing and driver's license put together.
Right.
Crazy.
For your medicine.
But at least they're
giving.
giving
But is it on par with other states as far as marijuana licenses?
Well, that's hard, because like in California, you're not required to get a card. The doctor will print you out like a piece of paper, but if you want to pay extra money, you can get a card.
But like a Colorado or states with cards.
Those are, I don't know, because when I go to a adult use state, I just
walk
buy. Yeah.
It's better to get the card.
And speaking of adult use, that's where we need to get to.
Exactly.
Is the next step.
Where are we? We were talking about that last week, and where are we as far as Regulate Florida? How many more?
I don't know the final, like what the count is. I mean, some tens of thousands. I mean, I just don't know.
Do you know if we're getting closer to the?
We're definitely fairly. I mean, a lot closer now than we were before to the Supreme Court review. I don't.
We have until May.
I'm not like a policy hawk on that stuff, so I don't know.
We'll have Karen on. We'll have Karen on.
Yeah.
And we'll
because I mean,
her engaged on what.
But trying to get people to sign up, this is something that everyone I think is starting to come around, and we're starting to see it happen with Regulate Florida. Different organizations, coming up with support. We've got the Sunshine Cannabis and Regulate Florida hat. True Leaf has
shout
the petitions.
Out Chris.
Yeah, for
shout
sure,
out
Chris Sunshine. Sure. True Leaf has the petitions in their dispensaries. I would love to see all the other MMTCs carry the petitions as well.
Do they even have stores?
Knox has a few. I think Certera has one. I believe Curaleaf has one.
Modern Health had.
Yeah, who's now Curaleaf, I believe.
Okay.
But that company from Canada, I don't think they have one.
Afria.
Yeah, Afria. But they're Liberty Health Sciences actually in Florida.
So there
And their
are
stock's
more
been on a
stores.
decline for the
So
last
so
month.
what do you think? I mean,
So I would like to see people get on message, right? So like you said, egos. So a lot of us are in the industry as well.
Yes.
And sometimes industry needs or business needs seem to take precedent over the movement. And you're saying, it's all about the movement. Like
It's all
movement's
about-
bigger
Yeah,
than
it's all
all of us
about-
combined. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
rippling down
1000%.
through generations. This may be the way that we heal the world in a lot.
In a lot of
many,
different
many,
ways.
many more ways than just medicine
true.
and food.
Oh, absolutely. Paper. I mean, for 1 acre of hemp that we grow, we save 4.1 acres of trees. You know,
And it cleans up the land while it's doing it.
It's absolutely like, I mean, it's here. It was the first $1 billion crop. Let's get over that hump. Let's really push that
This is the
economically. I mean, we'll have, you know, employment opportunities. I mean, a lot of our guys here are employed because of the business that we do, or they've expanded their business. We need to start setting that precedent and making sure people hear it.
And jobs in the cannabis industry seem to pay higher on average from what I've seen than the regular job in Florida.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And out west where I've done work in Washington, Colorado.
Especially
It's
at the
normally
educational
not a
levels.
minimum wage job.
No,
I
when we had ours, I mean,
like even like people working in the grows at the bottom level.
Right.
I mean, even the call centers I think are like $12 to $15
Yeah, it's a
an
decent
hour in
wage.
Florida.
Yep.
Yeah,
we
really
spent
good.
a lot of money on our wages when we had our dispensary and we had our, our grow. We had, our employees didn't make, minimum salary.
And I think
minimum
job
wage.
creation, sorry to interrupt you, but that's something that everyone is for, right?
Absolutely.
That higher paying jobs, more jobs.
Yeah.
It helps everything out. That's something that everyone can stay on message about.
1000%.
Everyone,
that
all political bents can
right.
agree with that.
And growing at home, have to have home grows.
That's a must.
Have to have home
Not
grows.
everyone is in support of that, but home grows are a benefit.
I would
That is
question,
a
have they ever met a
must.
poor person then that needed cannabis?
Right.
No.
Well, no,
How,
I think,
why would you not be in support
well, I
of
think
a
it's
home grow?
control. It's
Right.
people,
I mean,
you're talking
but
about like people in
that's-
positions
but
of
you
power.
They don't
people
want
in
it.
positions
Okay.
of power, people who.
If you're in the movement, don't support home grows. I
Oh,
mean,
no, in the
I'll
mov-
show you
No,
the door.
no, yeah, right. No, there's
In
plenty
the
of doors
movement.
we could walk them right out. That's
Right
not a
out.
problem.
In the movement, you'll find people in favor of home grow, probably except for people who are making money from the licensed cannabis industry. So like
But they can though. I mean, when you go and apply for a plant count in Colorado, you got to go through your steps to get it done. I mean, there's ways.
You mean as a caregiver?
As a caregiver,
Right.
I mean,
He was
if
talking about
that's
a grow.
basically, but that's you're growing at home.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
still
when
have to
it
get a
comes
little
down to
tag and pay the tax. Like in
Yeah.
California, it's the county where you're at.
Right.
No.
No, but it's not they're not overwhelmed by the money and the tax revenues, or else we wouldn't be going through this in Florida. I think they like the control, and they're influenced by law enforcement, and they're influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, and that's why there's the resistance. Now, as a license holder in a slow-moving state like Florida, where the patient count is low and not growing to its maximum potential, you're not going to want home grow. You already have enough challenges with the doctors not wanting to recommend. You have enough challenges with, with the legislative roadblocks. So you as a license holder, the last thing you want is home grow.
right. But
That's why some of them, as you've called out, I appreciate that. I believe it's Knox is the
Knox.
that doesn't want bud.
right. It's even on their wall.
How can you
But
not?
but
It's on
here's
their
the
wall
thing.
and
That's
they're
really
just-
short-sighted
How do you not?
because
I don't get it.
who do you think the state's gonna go to provide seeds and clones for the home grows? They're not gonna tell you to buy
Right.
them from California or Oregon seed banks.
Or Europe.
Right.
You know.
All right. Robert, are you familiar with Arby's mail sack?
I don't think he's familiar with
You're
my
not familiar
sack.
with it? All right.
There's very few people that are familiar with my
It's Arby's mail
sacks.
sack. It's people that email or comment on Facebook, and they ask questions about cannabis, and we want you to stick around for it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. We got to take a break. So you are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by
RB
Green Roads
Sacks.
World.
Green Roads World is recognized as one of the world's leading suppliers of CBD products, and Cannabis Life Radio is giving away Green Road CBD products every week. To join, just tune in on our Facebook Live broadcast every Saturday morning at 10 and follow the instructions on air and in the comment section. Cannabis Life Radio is teaming up with Green Roads World to give you free CBD. Good luck from Cannabis Life Radio and Green Roads World.
Across the state to across the country, the Hemp Kings is your online home for hemp oil products. From organic hemp oil to intense concentrates, there is only one name you need to remember. The Hemp Kings.
The Hemp King.
Our hemp cream pain blaster lotions uses natural essential oils to deliver hemp's natural pain reliever directly to the site of inflammation for long-lasting relief. Now, our Pain Blaster Hemp Cream has now gone to the extreme.
Extreme?
Extreme!
Extreme!
New Pain Blaster Extreme Cream delivers even more relief, even faster! The best hemp products at the best prices delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. TheHempKings.com!
TheHempKings.com.
As a loving pet owner, you want to treat your senior dog for dysplasia, neuropathy, and joint discomfort with minimal traditional chemical medication. And as loving pet owners, we at King Canine agree, and we're excited to make our signature CBD line available to you. Derived from all-natural cannabidiol compounds, lab-tested, non-GMO, plant-based, cutting-edge King Calm CBD reduces inflammation and discomfort naturally, and even reduces anxiety from fireworks and thunderstorms. Go to kingcanine.com, that's KINGKANINE for details, and browse a full line of products like King Comb De-Shedder, King Calm Balm, and King Clean Shampoo for pet wellness inside and out. Order now using the code BARK20 for an exclusive 20% discount. KINGKANINE.com, King Calm CBD, and the rest of our natural cannabidiol products. King Canine, for natural pet wellness inside and out.
Florida Home Grow is the state's #1 seller of hemp oil products. Stop by and check out their organic hemp oil, capsules, and pain-killing topical lotions. Enjoy a complimentary cup of fresh organic coffee when checking out our beautiful showroom. Florida Home Grow also carries unique hemp items like jewelry, soaps, clothing, and accessories. Don't forget to try refreshing natural lemonade or delicious ice cream sandwiches. Florida Home Grow is conveniently located on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike. We're the #1 sellers of hemp oil products because our stuff works.
This is the radio show people talk about all week long. This is Cannabis Life Radio.
Mike Hot. Hot Mike.
Hot Mike. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio. This is Florida's original cannabis radio program, and it's time. It's time.
Yeah, but I want some answers.
Answers for what?
Let's get the
I want to
questions
see.
first.
I want to see some answers here. Like who was paying attention? Well, if 2 seconds.
What do you mean?
Where was I flying my drone? I'm just looking for the responses.
Oh, you're a
here,
drone?
man. Yeah,
We're
I'm
back
a
to your
drone
drone
guy.
again? Okay,
Yeah, because I'm
where
gonna give away. I'm gonna give away like a daily dose.
daily dose?
If anybody answers where I was flying my drone,
I already know.
Yesterday, you can't answer it.
Oh, you know too?
You do too?
I
Did you
know,
see
I was
it?
watching it.
All right. So if
I saw it
anybody,
too.
you
It was a
guys
nice
got
neighborhood.
5 seconds. 1,
Who's going to get it?
2, 3, 4, and 5. No. All right,
Plantation.
let's go to yours. Ready?
All right.
Yeah, actually, boom. There you go.
I won.
I got a winner.
All right.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, chicken dinner. It's time for. Do we have music for Arby's mail sack, by the way? Do we have music? Oh, yeah. That's Arby's mail sack. All right. Santiago from Fort Myers. I would like to hear everyone's theory about the real reason the legislature went against the Constitution and eliminated the smoking of cannabis. It can't be because medicine isn't smoked. That's BS. That's a good question.
I'm not going to answer that.
You're not going to answer it?
Kind of ties back to the conversation we were having about interpretation, balance of power. So the legislation, of course, their role isn't to necessarily interpret the constitutional amendment, but they did have the responsibility of making policy. Their interpretation of Amendment 2 was that it did not allow for flower because of the language, you cannot smoke outside. We disagree with that interpretation. Judicially, it is being discussed. We actually had there were depositions this week. The Redner case.
That's correct.
Going on this week. So stay tuned. There's going to be more on that, but it's a balance of powers constitutional.
Yeah, but what's the reason? What do you think the reason?
What's their rationale?
Money. Yeah.
Their rationale is because they can and because they want to restrict access and they want to control.
Right.
Money.
They want to act as if Amendment 2 did not even happen, and they're going to interpret it as conservatively as possible.
There's a couple of other reasons, too.
Money.
Well, that, too. And plus, a lot of the law enforcement was against the smoking because it's easier for police to arrest people when they can smell it.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason that they want to keep the smoking part illegal. That keeps the greases, the machines greased, the wheels of justice flowing. Everybody keeps getting arrested. They keep pleading to the lesser charge, getting rid of the cannabis and pleading.
They got to decriminalize across the board.
Yeah, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's got to be decriminalized and absolutely not scheduled.
All right.
Those are the only two ways it's going to make sense and really expand employment, education, research, everything.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Mike from Plantation. He might have seen your drone.
Plantation.
Yeah. Are you ready? Arby, Cheryl, Leon. We'll do Robert too.
They even included you.
Yeah. Which celebrity political figure do you want to have as a guest and why? All right. Who do you want?
Oof.
I mean, I would like political figure. I'd definitely like Bernie Sanders on because he has been a federal proponent and he has actually filed legislation for legalization. So I would love to have Bernie Sanders on to really speak about it because he's been consistently in support of cannabis to the point of filing legislation.
Yeah.
I would take Hannity.
Hannity?
Yep.
Why would you take Hannity?
Because I like to hear his. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me that we're wrong.
Oh, and he would be the one to do it?
He's gonna try.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is, or is he? I think
He
he's
doesn't
actually
even say
on
anything
board
about it.
anymore. I think he's on board now.
I think it's because it's a states' rights issue to him. What do you think, Robert?
Cheryl may disagree with me, but he's here in Florida. Roger Stone. He has the ear.
there
He
you
has
go.
the ear of the president.
Completely 120% disagree with you.
That is a good. No, I like that. I like
This
that.
narrative of the ear of the president, if he had it, why isn't he doing something with that ear? Why is he waiting for fundraising
Ooh, I
events
know you're
before
gonna
he
light her
will?
fire on that
Before
one,
he
boy.
will.
That's not why I said it, though. That's why I prefaced
he is
it.
an on-record racist,
we started late.
and he does not represent the voice of the industry.
All right.
He
Let's
doesn't.
be
He
clear.
doesn't. He doesn't. 1,000%.
Right.
But I think it's a good call out name only because I like just to see how crazy he is. That's pretty much as far as I'd want to go.
And by the way, he's a great tipper.
He is a great tipper.
He's a great tipper, I'm telling you.
He's lost it.
He used to complain when he came into my restaurant every day. He used to complain that when he got me
He's
as
an
a
on-books
waiter.
racist.
Yeah,
I do
he's
not
got-
give platforms.
He got a guy
to
instead of a girl.
She doesn't like giving airtime to anybody that's
All right.
of his
Next question.
qualifications.
Well, by the way, mine would be Pigman. Okay, Jane
That would
from.
be
We can
great.
get him
That
on.
would
That would
be
be great. I
great.
want
Yeah.
Pigman in here.
He still owes me an interview.
Yeah,
Oh,
bring
yeah?
him in.
Let's
Yeah,
make that happen.
Let's
absolutely.
fly. Let's
I want
fly
to
him
see
in.
Pigman.
Let's take
I
care
want to
of
talk
him.
to him. All right,
We'll
Jane
get him
from
in
Lake
here.
Worth. How much cannabis do you think Robert Roundtree has smoked in his lifetime in pounds?
Ooh,
It says in pounds.
wow.
They wrote in pounds.
No,
Yeah. How many pounds do you think you've consumed
In a
in your
medicated
lifetime?
state.
How old are you? 20,
How about
29, 30?
37.
37.
I'll be
so how many
38
pounds?
in July.
So you started when you were
Let's
probably
see.
18, 17?
nah, he started way
I go
younger.
through probably in a legal state
Right.
when I was there
Half ounce a week?
about 5 or 6 pounds a year.
5 or 6 pounds
It's
a
about
year.
right.
So we're talking.
It's about right.
But seriously, you could go up to like 10 if I include making edibles too,
No,
because
you
it
definitely
requires
hit
a
10
lot.
if you're hitting edibles.
So we're talking about
Definitely.
3 or 4 tons?
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
At least a ton. No, seriously.
Yeah?
I mean, I've been
Especially with
smoking since I
edibles.
was 11. so-
11?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Since you can't call yourself Florida's only cannabis radio show anymore, I thought of a new slogan. Welcome to Cannabis Life Radio, Florida's only cannabis radio program that doesn't make you scrum. That's nice.
Scrum.
Okay, Samuel from Marco Island. If Regulate Florida passes, will home growing be allowed? If so, how many plants?
We wish.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
so there's a two-part answer. You can have 6 mature plants and as many non-mature plants. So that's really good for people that want to juice, incorporate it into your food.
Right.
So it's
And eating raw cannabis.
Yeah. Yes, it will be legal, and it will be legal as soon as you download the petition at regulateflorida.com/petition.
Get involved.
Print about 100 of them, get them signed, send them in to Sensible Florida, address on the back.
And
Let's
stay
do it.
tuned.
That's
and
what we
stay
need
tuned.
to do.
Stay tuned to everybody at this table trying to get certain things done during this legislative year
Yes.
and during this voting time. Pay attention. Get involved. Don't matter who you're getting involved with. The fact is that whatever group in Florida is going to be associated through somebody that's sitting at this table. What we want to do is we want to bring everybody together, and we want to make as much noise and call as many legislators and representatives that we can to make the right decision and allow the Floridians to get what they voted for, which is full legalization of
Full access.
cannabis in the state of Florida.
All right. We got one more question. You ready?
Yeah.
What is the best way to get a skeptical senior citizen to try CBD?
Education.
I already know. What do you
A
use?
skeptical senior citizen. I think giving them a variety of delivery systems to choose from. I think edibles is it would be more palatable for someone who is skeptical. And then I would encourage them to do it if they're in a high anxiety situation. I would also do peer-to-peer education where someone like Arby's dad, who's in his 90s and was resistant to CBD, now has replaced a plethora of narcotics with
Right.
CBD, and him telling his story and others like that, I think that's what's going to move the needle with our seniors.
What I always do is I always tell them to try the topicals, to the stuff that they rub on their skin first, because
That's a good entry
they're
point.
much more, willing to put stuff on their skin more than they are willing to put something on their tongue. So if that works, then they move on to the sublinguals, and it usually works.
All right.
Before
we get off, Robert Rontria, how can they reach out to you and really be part of your group, or if they need any questions answered or your help? How can they reach
Or
out
what
to
we're
you?
working on too.
Yeah, so ideally, I would like to have someone from every county to help us coordinate. They can reach out to me at robert@floridamarijuana.net and send your name, number, address. You don't need to send your address, town, so we can start to compile a list of volunteers that are going to work on this with us. And then also on Facebook at Florida Dispensaries, or type in Florida Marijuana, it'll pull up both things. And
Perfect.
then my profile, Robert Roundtree, Instagram, Florida_marijuana.
And
You're
Chris,
everywhere.
and Chris
Yeah.
Sunshine right
And
there.
Chris
Sunshine is in the
Sunshine's
house.
here,
Hey.
representing.
in the house.
I thought it got a little brighter in here.
Yeah,
He brought the sunshine.
yeah.
Every time.
Well, an initiative that Arby, it was a brainchild of Arby and Robert on the podcast this week, is a get involved type of hub. So Robert has kindly accepted the position as the task force captain for the state of Florida. This will be expanded across the nation, and Arby and Robert will be working as leadership of this Get Involved campaign. There will be a one-stop hub website where you can find out how to contact your legislators. You can get templates for contacting them either by voice or by or electronically. There's a hotline that's going to be set up for any seizures of product, violations of patient rights issues across the country, and that's the direction we're going into. So it'll consolidate the efforts, and that's coming soon. You'll see it on FloridaMedicalMarijuana.net as well as
FloridaMarijuana.net.
FloridaMarijuana.net, as well as the Cannabis Life page, as far as how you can get involved cannabis.
Yes, that's correct. And it's basically going to aggregate a lot of available information that's already out there
Right.
for people, because one of the biggest questions, and we all see it all the time, is, hey, I want to help, how can I get involved?
Right.
And that's such a long-winded answer. Usually the best one is start locally. That's where you can have the most change, to be honest, you know, and work from there. And yeah, we're going to have that out sometime next year, soon.
Early in January. And we're joined by
gotta
Chris
go through it
Sunshine, so
quick,
he'll
too,
close
because
out
we're
with...
closing out with like a minute 30
Yes.
seconds.
Close out with Chris
Give us your
Sunshine.
sunshine, dog.
Sunshine, are we
Shine
on?
upon
We're
us.
live?
Yeah, we're live. We're
See you
running.
right there.
We're running.
Listen, it's not about us right now, it's about regulated Florida. This is what we need you guys to do. You see the back of this?
Yes.
This is peace, prosperity, and pot, and that's what it's all about. We want everybody in the Sunshine State to be able to grow their own cannabis plants. Now, not everybody wants to grow their own cannabis plants, but a lot of us will, because this is the Sunshine State, this is what we do. And we want everyone to be able to be involved that wants a piece of the pie, that wants to be in the cannabis. You know, we kind of started this whole thing. All the cannabis used to come through Florida, all the genetics were spread out west from Florida. We are the epicenter of this. We're the #1 indoor grow state in the country, if not the world.
Yep.
And we know how to do it. We know what we're doing. We've got the genetics, we've got the people, we've got everything but the law. So what we need to do is we need you to go to regulateflorida.com. If you can donate money, we really need funds, because the funds are used to get petitions signed, because volunteers have to have gas and food, and you have to print petitions, which costs money. I'm a board member of Regulate Florida. Robert Roundtree works very closely. He is helping to lead the charge. And if we can get these petitions signed, every adult over 21 in the state of Florida will be able to access cannabis. No patient will be left behind. There are millions of patients here in Florida who will not qualify under Amendment 2, and they need access. We need to be able to grow our own medicine, and we need to free this plant. And Regulate Florida is.
What's the petition count? What's the petition count?
Oh, we've got like 40 or 50,000 signed.
50,000
We're getting very
Nice.
close
Yeah.
to getting Supreme Court review.
Right.
Excellent.
Nice.
I mean, the target obviously was 2018. That was the target. But even if it's 2020, which may make more sense because it's a presidential election year.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And we have overwhelming support in the community. I know you guys are huge supporters.
Yeah.
You've done so much to help.
We're definitely going to be doing a
We're counting on Florida.
lot of things.
We're counting
going
on everyone to get involved in this. So if you can donate money, actually for the next 24 hours, Sunshine Cannabis will be matching donations up to $2,500. We're going to match up to $2,500. So if someone out there will donate $2,500, Sunshine Cannabis will match it, so that it'll be $5,000.
Nice.
Or if you donate $500, I'll match it with $500. It's a 24-hour match.
Love
Just came up with this, and this is because of Cannabis Life Radio.
Even if all you have is $1 or $5, it all adds up.
Life Radio.
Listen.
We love Green Roads, CBD.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you need CBD, I send everybody now. I used to send them to a Colorado company. I send everyone to Green
Thank
Roads.
you, man.
because guys
Thank
are
you,
the
brother.
best, and
Thank
we love
you.
it.
Right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
All right,
Listen,
we-
a lot of new things coming up on Cannabis Life Radio. Tune in us on Wednesdays. Wednesday is going to be the early bird, the young birds, going to be broadcasting a little bit of crazy things: alcohol versus cannabis, Xanax versus cannabis, oxys versus cannabis. So what we're going to show is how the effects are and the difference are between being on cannabis or CBD and being on alcohol, Xanax, Oxycontin, possible heroin, and we're getting corporation agreements to be able to film these individuals going to work and functioning on a daily basis so we could prove what the difference is so we could eliminate the stigma.
That's right.
That's going to be a lot of
all
fun.
right.
So
All
I'll
right.
leave it to Leon.
All right, we were supposed to end this show about 15-20 minutes ago.
Let's keep it going.
All right.
Yeah.
All night long. All right, you are
Dale lo.
you are currently tuned to Cannabis Life Radio, brought to you by Green
Rose World.
See you next
World. Peace.
I love this room, man. This room is incredible. This is a real.
Join us next week for another edition of Cannabis Life Radio. Cannabis Life Radio has been a presentation of Green Roads World. Join us next week for another edition of Cannabis Life Radio. Cannabis Life Radio has been a presentation of Green Roads World.